The sun was setting over the highway as a truck hauling what was thought to be just basic cleaning supplies flipped over, spilling hundreds of blue buckets across the road. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. At first glance, it seemed like just another accident. Nothing out of the ordinary for the cleanup crew. They started scooping up the buckets, assuming it was just a mess of harmless chemicals. But when one of the workers opened a lid, everything changed. A strange chemical scent wafted out, unlike anything they'd smelled before. The driver's face went pale, and the crew knew something was terribly wrong. It was supposed to be a routine cleanup, nothing more than another day at work. But as I pulled up to the crash site, something didn't sit right. The scene before me was chaotic, with blue buckets scattered all over the place, some of them still on their sides, others left open. Workers were scrambling to get things cleared up, but that nagging feeling in my stomach told me this wasn't just an ordinary spill. Sam, one of the guys on the crew, wrinkled his nose as he waved me over. "Jake, come here," he called, holding up a bucket with a strange, unsettling smell. It didn't smell like any cleaning supply I had ever come across, and that only raised more questions. "Doesn't smell like cleaning supplies," Sam muttered, squinting at the label. His words left me with a sense of unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were missing something. I opened a bucket myself, hoping to find something that would explain the smell. Inside, all I found were a pile of rags, nothing suspicious. But as I closed the lid, I felt someone's eyes on me. I looked up, and the driver, Rick, was sitting at the side of the road, staring at the scene with a look of dread, his face ashen. Something wasn't adding up. The cleanup continued, but we couldn't ignore the strange tension in the air. Lisa, who was sorting through the buckets nearby, shared the thoughts we all had. "This whole cleanup feels odd," she said, her voice shaky. Kevin, another crew member, agreed, muttering about how something felt off with the whole situation. We exchanged glances, and the unease only deepened. It was like we were all waiting for something to go wrong. As we worked, I noticed Rick fidgeting, glancing nervously at us as we continued to clean. His behavior was strange. Why was he so tense about what was supposed to be a simple cleanup job? It wasn't until Lisa brought up a rumor about illegal shipments that I began to wonder if we had stumbled onto something bigger than just a truckload of cleaning supplies. "Ever hear about smuggling operations?" she asked quietly, making sure no one overheard. My heart raced as I processed her words. Could it be possible that this was more than just an accident? I hesitated before making the call. It was a gut feeling, but we needed more than just a hunch. We needed something concrete. I marked some of the unsealed buckets with a discreet marker, planning to check them later when no one was looking. Sam noticed but said nothing. Rick seemed to notice too, but he didn't comment. That uneasy feeling kept growing. Then, just as we were getting comfortable with the idea that maybe we were overthinking things, a state trooper showed up at the scene. The officer started asking questions about the contents of the truck. Rick was quick to claim they were just cleaning supplies, but his voice trembled, and the unease in his tone was hard to ignore. The officer didn't seem convinced, and as more officers arrived, the tension only grew. Something was off. With the site buzzing with police activity, I pulled my brother, a local cop, into the loop. He advised me to stay low and gather information quietly. But as the hours passed, things escalated quickly. Kevin overheard Rick on the phone with someone, mentioning a rehab clinic shipment. That was all it took for the entire situation to shift. What started as a simple cleanup operation was now something much darker. Sam found a delivery manifest, and that's when the truth began to surface. The shipping schedule didn't match Rick's story, and the more we dug, the more suspicious it all became. We decided to take a closer look at the buckets, and what we found shocked us. Instead of cleaning supplies, they were filled with syringes and strange labeled substances. Our worst fears were confirmed. This wasn't just a mess. It was a major criminal operation, The officer was just as stunned as we were, and as the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this was far bigger than we could have imagined. Rick's nervous behavior, the discrepancies in the shipping documents, and the discovery of illegal substances pointed to a well-organized smuggling operation. And the more we uncovered, the more it became evident that Rick was just a small piece of a much larger puzzle. As the investigation continued, Rick finally cracked. "I was smuggling drugs," he admitted, his voice shaking. The relief in the air was palpable as the truth came out. But our discovery didn't end there. The operation was sprawling, with ties to clinics and shady addresses. We had pulled on a thread that led us deep into something far more dangerous than we had ever anticipated. What started as a routine cleanup turned into an international investigation, and the secrets we uncovered would change everything we knew about what was happening right under our noses. As the investigation deepened, the authorities began to piece together the full extent of the operation. Rick's confession was just the beginning of what would become an unraveling story of smuggling, corruption, and deception. The authorities quickly traced the illegal shipments to several clinics that were involved in trafficking substances for profit, all hidden under the guise of legitimate operations. But the deeper they went, the more questions arose about how big this network really was. I couldn't help but feel the weight of the discovery as we watched the police swarm the area, raiding Rick's home and diving into his finances. The officers were working tirelessly to connect the dots, but the magnitude of the operation was beyond anything we had imagined. I couldn't shake the feeling that we had stumbled onto something far more dangerous than we were equipped to handle. Over the next few weeks, the investigation took off. Officers worked around the clock, and what they found was terrifying. The smuggling ring had tentacles reaching across the country, with connections to underground clinics, pharmaceutical fraud, and even organized crime. The scale of it was massive, and we knew that our small part in the investigation had only cracked the surface of something far more sinister. Despite the chaos and danger, there was a strange sense of pride in knowing that our actions had helped expose such a widespread issue. We had gone from being a cleanup crew to being key witnesses in a major criminal case. And yet, as we processed what we had uncovered, it was impossible to shake the realization that our actions had saved lives. By calling attention to the smuggling operation, we had helped stop a larger catastrophe before it could spiral out of control. Rick was arrested, and his connections began to unravel. The authorities seized evidence that exposed the full network of criminals involved, but there was still one lingering question: who else was behind it? We soon learned that there were more players in this operation, and the consequences of their actions would affect countless people. As the investigation progressed, I couldn't help but think back to that moment when we first discovered the strange buckets. What seemed like a simple accident had led us to uncover something so dark and vast that it made my stomach churn. It was a reminder of how easily things can go unnoticed, how ordinary moments can quickly turn into life-changing events when you least expect them. We stayed involved in the investigation, doing everything we could to help the authorities piece together the full picture. The information we had gathered, the photos we had taken, and the evidence we had found all played a crucial role in bringing the perpetrators to justice. As the case reached its final stages, it became clear that this was no ordinary investigation. The smuggling ring was far-reaching, and the criminals behind it had operated with an uncanny level of organization and secrecy. But thanks to the quick thinking of our crew, the brave actions of the officers, and the determination to get to the truth, we had managed to take down an entire operation. Looking back, it was hard to believe how a simple cleanup job had turned into one of the most intense and dangerous experiences of our lives. But it also reminded me of the importance of trusting our instincts, of staying alert to the world around us, and of never underestimating the power of seemingly small actions. What started as a routine job had turned into a monumental case, and we knew that we would never look at an ordinary day on the job the same way again.